All right, the project we're working on today is Microsoft Lesson 1. So we're going to be doing a lot of formatting, primarily working in our home tab of our Microsoft ribbon. We'll get to that in just a moment. This is the backstage view of Microsoft Word, and when you open up Microsoft Word, this is the first thing that comes up. We're going to go ahead and open up a blank document. These are some templates that are built in. This first option, our blank document, is typically what we'll work on when we want to create a document from scratch. So we're just going to go ahead, click on that one to open it. Now I am going to try and go through this a little more rapidly than I normally would, just because when I'm doing, I'm posting this video without completing the project in a class setting, just because I don't want other people to appear on the screen. I don't want, if somebody's got questions, I don't want to take up everyone else's time with those questions. But by doing this, you should be able to pause and rewind 15 seconds or 30 seconds if you didn't get something. And that way, it'll be really kind of focused to your abilities. So again, I'm always welcome for your feedback. My email is posted on my channel as well, but if you have any questions, my email is smueller, S-M-U-E-L-L-E-R, @sowashco.org. That is my school email address, so if you need it, that's how you can contact me, provide feedback, give me questions, anything like that. All right, so looking at the Word window here, we'll notice that right now I have my ribbon turned on. So I've got a horizontal ribbon and a vertical, or excuse me, a ruler. My vertical ruler and my horizontal ruler. I've also got my ribbon expanded. So if you are in your normal document and you don't see the kinds of things that are on my screen, like if this is what you see when you open up your document, that's totally fine. I'm going to show you how to remedy that. But right up here, this is our Microsoft ribbon up at the top. And once we activate the ribbon, so I'm going to click on it, it's going to expand our ribbon. And then we've got our options available within each one of those tabs. And again, these are called tabs. So our ribbon contains several different tabs. And within each tab, we've got multiple groups. So you can see our home tab, our clipboard group, and each group is divided by this vertical line right here. So our clipboard group, which has our cut, copy, paste, format painter, those kinds of things. Our font group, which has all of our font formatting options. So font color, highlights, styles, the font itself, whether we want Calibri, Times New Roman, Bradley Hand, you name it. The font size. If we are going to do bold, underline, italics, anything like that is all going to be in your font group. The paragraph group is going to focus on all of the different paragraph formatting. So if you want to do bullet points, numbered lists, if you want to center the text along the page horizontally, if you want to add color to the paragraph, all of that stuff is available right here. And again, we're going to get to all of this stuff eventually, but we're just looking at the lingo to start with. And again, so each one of these tabs is very specific to different concepts. So this is our home tab. It's got all of the basic. Our insert tab is going to be filled with additional groups, pages, tables, illustrations, add-ins, links, text, all of those things. Anything that we can add into a document or insert into a document is going to be right in here. But then our design tab, which deals with the page design or the theme design, layout, etc. So each element of the tab is divided into different groups. Now if I click into my document, you'll notice my ribbon disappears. Now some people don't like to work with the ribbon expanded. In this formatting, the ribbon is collapsed, so it kind of shrinks up into the ribbon is collapsed, so it shrinks up into this top blue part. If you want that ribbon expanded, what you need to do is click on one of the tabs, and it's going to expand that ribbon. And again, if it's not open, just click on something and it will open up for you. Now, I prefer to work in my document with my ribbon, what we call pinned, P-I-N-N-E-D, pinned to my desktop. And when we pin it, right over here you can see what looks like a push pin or a little thumbtack. I'm going to hover over that, and it will say pin the ribbon. So like seeing the ribbon, keep it open while you work. Then click on it, and then it's going to pin that ribbon. So now even when I'm working in my document, the ribbon stays expanded. It no longer collapses on itself. And then the other thing I prefer to have when I'm working is I like to see my rulers. Now the rulers, if you're working in tabs or you're doing layout items where you want to add pictures or charts or graphs or anything like that, your rulers are very helpful to have active, but they take up a little bit more of your screen as well. So if you like to look at the maximum size of your document, you're probably going to want to collapse the ribbon and then zoom in your zoom slider down here a little bit so you can see more of your screen. Otherwise, for me, like I said, I prefer to have my ribbon pinned, and in my View tab, I like to have my ruler on so I can see where I am on my page. So you've got this little vertical and horizontal rulers so you can get a better idea of where you are on your page. All right, so those are some of those options that I wanted to get out of the way right away. So what we're going to be doing with this project is we're going to be creating a flyer, and then we're going to be doing some modifications to it. So when you're working on a document in Microsoft Word, the default margins of your page are going to be 1 inch all around. So 1 inch on the top, 1 inch on the bottom, 1 inch to the left, and 1 inch to the right. And so you'll notice here that on my ruler, and I've just gone to my View tab and did one page so I can see my full page. But you'll notice that this is an 8.5 by 11 document. So you can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a ½ inch. And so we can see a 1 inch margin on our left and a 1 inch margin on our right. Down here, we can see our document goes all the way up to 9 inches, so 8.5, 9, and then we've got 1 inch on the top and 1 inch on the bottom. So the workable space that we have is going to be right in this area. Now, when you're working on a typical document or a letter, that is what you want. You want a little bit of white space on the perimeter. But if you're going to work on a newsletter or a flyer or something like that, a brochure, you're going to want to utilize as much real estate on your page or on your document as you possibly can, because the more space you use, the less pages you have to have. And so what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make the margins of our document a little bit tighter to the page. And so I'm going to come to my Layout tab, and then in my Page Setup group, I'm going to click on my margin, and then you'll see right now I'm in my normal, that's the default, 1 inch top, bottom, left, and right. I'm going to choose the narrow option. And the narrow option is going to move it ½ inch, top, bottom, left, and right. So we're decreasing each one by ½ inch, but we're providing a lot of additional real estate on our page. ½ inch might not seem like a lot, but a ½ inch on every side of the page is going to provide quite a bit of additional space for us. All right, so now that I've got that layout changed a little bit, I'm going to come over here to my View tab, and I'm going to go to Page Width. Now, page width is going to expand my page a little bit, but it's going to make it a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing on the page as well. So we've got that page expanded, and I've gone to my View tab to bring it to page width. I'm going to come back to my Home tab, and then right in that, at the very top of my document, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start creating my text. So the flyer that we're going to create here, the little item that we're going to create, is a flyer about washing your hands appropriately. Now this is kind of nice because it's with COVID-19, there's a huge emphasis on hand washing. So this little document that we're going to be working on is all about hand washing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to type at the very beginning, wash your hands, exclamation point. Wash your hands. All right. So now I'm going to hit my enter key after I've done that. And the text I just typed, wash your hands, is called title case, T-I-T-L-E, title case. And we call it title case as opposed to sentence case because in title case, every word has a capital letter to start unless it's a word like a definite article or, and, or some of those conjunctions like that, a, and, the, if, anything like that is not capitalized, but you would write it just like you would like a title of a book or a title of a film, a title of an article. It's title case. So wash your hands is all going to be title. Now, as opposed to sentence case is going to have the first letter capitalized, everything else lowercase, unless you have a proper noun, in which case the proper noun would be capitalized. All right. So we got wash your hands. Once I hit enter, you'll see that it puts a little bit of space between the lines. And that is for a reason. It's for, that's what we call paragraph spacing. So it's giving us a little bit of space between paragraphs. Now, every time you hit the enter key on your keyboard in Microsoft Word, you create a paragraph. Now, in my home tab, paragraph group, I have this little option. It kind of looks like a backwards P. This is our option to hide or show our formatting marks. Now, formatting marks are going to be all of the little formatting marks that are going on behind the scenes that we don't really see. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. All right, so then you'll notice I'm going to expand this a little bit so you can see in between the words wash and your and hands, we have this little bullet point. Now, if I turn off the formatting marks, those bullet points disappear. When I turn them back on, they're active again. Now, all that indicates is that we have hit the space key. And that's it. And then every time you see this little mark, you hit the enter key or the return key to go to a new line. Now, again, like I said before, every time we hit that enter key or the return key, we create a paragraph in Microsoft Word. Now that's different. There's a difference between a paragraph and a body paragraph. A body paragraph is going to be typically what we would normally refer to as a paragraph, where we've got our topic sentence, our support sentences, and then our conclusion sentences, our exposition type stuff. When we have a sentence or a paragraph with multiple sentences in it, that's what we consider a body paragraph in Word. Otherwise, every time we hit the enter, we create a new paragraph. All right, I'm going to go back to view to my page width to zoom out just a little bit. All right, and with my insertion point at the line below that wash your hands, I'm going to start typing text. Now, for those of you that have if you're old enough to remember working on a typewriter, whenever you would get to the end of a line on the page, so once we get right over here, we would have to hit our enter key to go to the next line. Now, when you're working in a word processing software, whether it's Microsoft Word, Google Docs, Apple's Pages, Corel's Text, what was it called? Text Master or something like that, Word Perfect, anything like that, you do not have to hit enter. We have a built-in feature called word wrap or text wrapping. And so when we get to the end of our line of text, like you'll see in just a moment, Microsoft will automatically wrap the text to the next line, and then you'll notice that we hit enter here. So we've got this gap between our paragraphs. But when we do word wrapping, that gap is very narrow compared to this built-in paragraph gapping. So we're going to go ahead and type the text. So washing your hands with soap and water can decrease outbreaks of food-borne illness because it can prevent spreading germs. And if you make an error, that's totally fine. You can prevent spreading germs from your hands to food. Now you'll notice that when I typed spreading germs, the text automatically wrapped to the next line. That's called word wrapping or text wrapping. Spreading germs, from your hands to food, period. All right. And again, so that word wrapping automatically wraps text, and you'll notice right here we've got a space that's as big as our selection or our I-beam, that little thing that I'm moving around on my page that looks like a capital I. This is called our I-beam. And then that little blinky dot thing right there, that blinky vertical line, that's called our insertion point. Our I-beam will allow us to move our insertion point. Wherever we click, that's where we'll start to type. So our insertion point will allow us to move, or our I-beam will allow us to move our insertion point on the page. So right now, my insertion point is at the end of that line. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And again, now you'll notice that whenever I hit my hard enter, the gap between lines is much wider than it is when we use that text wrapping feature. All right, so we've got that text entered. So now we're going to enter some additional text. So we're going to have two sections on this flyer. We're going to have one section called how and another section called when. So we're going to type the first line up here. We're going to type how with a question mark and then enter. All right, and then now how we wash our hands, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create items for a list. All right, so how, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type wet hands with clean running water and apply soap. But I'm going to misspell a couple words on purpose. So wet hands with clean, I'm going to misspell clean, running water, comma, and soap, period. And then enter. And then lather hands, space, and then open parentheses, so that's going to be Shift 9. The Shift key is going to give us those secondary keystrokes. So lather hands, in the parts of our hands are going to be palms, comma, backs, comma, below nails, comma, between fingers, comma, around thumbs. Close the quotation, or close the parentheses by rubbing them together with soap. Period. Enter. All right, our next line, scrub hands for at least 20 seconds. So scrub hands for, again, another misspelled, but this one, I misspelled it with a correct word. So for, F-O-R-E, is an actual word. It's a contracted form of the word before. So scrub hands for at least 20 seconds. Period. Enter. All right, and then this should recognize this as an error in just a moment. And then our next line, rinse soap off of hands. So rinse soap off of hands under clean running water. So under clean, comma, running water, period, enter. And then finally, our next item, dry hands well using a towel or an air dryer, period, enter. All right. Now you'll notice that when we are working in a word processing software, anytime we misspell a word or we make a grammatical error or anything like that, the software recognizes that we've made a mistake somewhere. And it's going to do that a couple different ways. So if I'm going to come back here and see if there's a word, if I've got the word the anywhere, using a towel or, and let's see if I do, okay, so I'm going to do an air dryer. So I'm inadvertently going to repeat a word there as well. Right, so there's a couple different things the software does. The software recognizes that we've got a spelling error by using this little red squiggly line, or we've got a grammatical error by this orange dotted line. And so a couple different ways we can do this. So we've got multiple errors here. You can wait until the end of your document and then do a spell check, which is this little ABC check mark up in your quick access toolbar, this is called. Again, the quick access toolbar. Otherwise, if you don't have it up here, you can go to your review tab and then click on that spelling and grammar option here. But another thing you can do is you can hover over that word, so clean, that I've misspelled. I'm going to right click with my mouse, and then when I do that, it's going to give me some options of some correctly spelled words that are similar to that. So I can see I've misspelled the word clean, C-L-E-N. Now it says maybe I meant clan, maybe I meant clean, maybe I meant clef, but if I did mean clean, it'll give me the option to add it to the dictionary, or I can ignore it altogether. Now I can, so one sense where you may want to add to the dictionary is if you are typing, for example, your name. Now a lot of my students are from other countries, they're not from the United States originally, and Microsoft Word doesn't always recognize their names. And so if you have a copy of Microsoft Word and every time you type your name, you get the little underline by it, what I would suggest doing is just right click on it and then say add to dictionary, and that way it'll recognize your name as a real word in the future. And you won't have to keep doing that. But so wet your hands with clean running water. Again, clean is the word I want. So I can click on that word, boop, and it'll automatically change it for us, which is exactly what we want. And then the next one, and soap. I've misspelled the word soap. Right click. It thinks I maybe want scope, maybe I want slope, maybe I want some, or if none of them are here, I could see more, and then it's going to give me options over here. Now, if none of those work, again, I can just edit it right within the document. So I'm going to double click on the word. When I double click on the word, it's going to select the text. Now, I don't have to hit delete or backspace or anything like that. I can just type right over it, and it's all good. All right, again, right click on a rod, or round, and again, it's not recognizing that text. So I can just, so it's A-R-O-U-N-D. I can just click in the word right there where the letters should go, and I can just type them. So I'm just editing the document right there. Our next one is rinse soap off of hands. Now this is a wordiness. So this is going to tell us that we need to make this more concise. I'm going to right click on this one, and then it says consider using concise language. So we can either use rinse soap off hands or rinse soap from hands. Right? There's a couple different ways we can do that. I'm just going to click off, and it's going to eliminate that of because it's totally unnecessary. All right, and then our last one, or an air dryer. I've accidentally did this word twice. I'm going to right click, and then it says delete repeated word. So it recognizes that I've entered a word 2 times. I'm going to click delete it, and then now we've got all of those changes that we've made. All right, so I'm going to go back to that line, or you can go to Control End, hold your Control key down, and then hit your End, E-N-D key. Now if you hit Control N, the letter, your screen, this is going to happen to your screen, and you're going to think, oh my God, I've lost everything. But if you hover over the word icon, you'll notice that now you've got 2 documents. It should show you 2 documents open. I'm just going to close that one. The other document is right behind it. All right, so now I'm going to bring my insertion point down again to the end of that document, and I'm going to hit Enter to give a little space between these 2 paragraphs. And again, now the next paragraph I'm going to do, or the next section, is going to be when. So when do we do it? When, question mark. I'm going to scroll up. And so now we can type when we do it. So we first, after eating, comma, coughing, comma, sneezing, comma, or using a tissue, enter. All right, and then we're going to continue. So before, during, and after preparing food, before, during, and after preparing food, enter. After using or assisting someone, using or assisting someone in the restroom, enter. After touching an animal, comma, animal feed or animal waste, enter. After handling dirty equipment or garbage, after handling and then you'll notice right there I deliberately misspelled the word equipment as equipment, and it automatically corrected that. So if you want to rewind a little bit to see what it did, you can do that. But after handling dirty equipment or garbage, enter. And finally, visit www.foodworkers.com and then space, oopsie, let me go back. Let me undo that for a second because there we go. So foodworkers.com space, and there we go, for additional hand washing tips. Period. All right, then you'll notice that when I typed www.foodworkers.com and then I hit the space key, it automatically converted that text into a hyperlink. Now, hyperlink will automatically connect, if you click on it, to a web page or an email or another place in the document, whatever. You're linking to something else. And so there's several different formats, like if I type my email, smueller@sowashco.org space, it'll automatically convert that email address into a link that will open up in an email client. Now, if you are working in a document that is going to be primarily distributed electronically, whether you're going to share it via email, you're going to post it online, you're going to do something like that, keeping the links is going to be very helpful because it's going to be a quick way for your customers or people interested in what you're distributing. It's going to be an easy way for them to link directly to that email address or website or whatever. However, if you are doing a document for print, you do not want to have that blue underline stuff on your document because it's unnecessary. It's not going to work as a link, and so it's superfluous to have that there. So we can undo that link. So right when you're typing it, after you hit the space key, and it converts that text to a link, you can click the undo button, that little undo arrow right up here, and it will cancel that convert to a hyperlink. Or you can right click on the link and say remove hyperlink, and it's going to eliminate that from right there. All right, so now we've got the text of our flyer entered, and I always recommend to people that when you are creating a document, before doing any kind of formatting, always enter all of your text, and only after all of your text is entered, that's when you want to start doing those elements of formatting. So now we've got all of our text entered, and again, I'll zoom out just a little bit so we can see it. That wash your hands, with that sentence at the beginning, our 2 list items, and then that information thing at the very bottom. So we've got all of that entered. I am going to go ahead and we're going to do a save. So now you'll notice that right up at the top, we can see that we're in Microsoft Word, and the document that we're working is document 1, because it's the first thing we've opened in this session. Now, when we save our document for the first time, we have to give it a name. We can't leave it as document 1. And so I'm going to come over here and do a file. So if we did save, it'll automatically ask us to do a save as, or we can just say save as. All right, so once we've got that, we're going to save it somewhere. Now, for these classes that I'm teaching in Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, I have a separate folder created on my desktop just for these classes, and so that's where I'm going to save them. Now, you will probably want to save yours into a specific folder as well, whether you call that, Microsoft Word lessons, trimester 3 Word, something like that. Mine is called, I'm going to browse for it, and it's on my desktop. It's in my Try3 Classes folder, and then it's in my Microsoft Word. So right over there. All right. So again, I'm going to save mine as wash your hands -unformatted. Enter. So wash your hands unformatted. Now I'm calling it formatted because I'm going to have one version of this document that's unformatted text, and I'm going to create a new one that's going to have the text formatted, or I could call it formatted or final, one of the two. But I'm going to have a final version of this document as well as this unformatted version. All right, so we've got that saved. And so now what I'm going to do, I would say that when you're working in a document, you want to save every couple minutes or every couple steps, depending on how quickly you work. Just because if your computer goes down, or something happens where you lose the document, you want to have a recent version of it saved. So that's why right now we've got an unformatted version of the document saved. But as we're working on our formatted version of it, we're going to want to update the saves as well. So now that I've got it saved as unformatted, I'm going to do File, Save As again. And in the same location, so I can do right here, it says Desktop Try3 Classes Microsoft Word. I'm going to keep it in the same file, only I'm going to eliminate the word unformatted, and I'm going to call this one Final. So wash your hands Final, and then save. So now we have the original file that we worked on called unformatted. So if we want to make different changes or alter it in other ways that we're not going to be doing here, we'll have a different version of it that we can go back to. But now I've also resaved it as a final version, and then as we take steps, as we progress through this document, when we hit the quick save option, or when we do Control S or whatever, however we're going to save it, it will make changes to our final version and not that unformatted version that we started with. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we've got the text entered, Now we're going to modify the theme of our document. So you'll notice that if I click on Home, and then in my font group, right here, the font colors, you can see we've got this specific palette of colors is our theme colors. Now we've got standard colors down here, and we've got theme colors right up here. Now when we use theme colors, you'll notice that we've got a text color right here, white, or background color, white background 1, and then we've got a black text 1. We've also got a background 2 color, light gray, and we've got a text 2 color, blue-gray. And then we have 6 accent colors. Accent color 1, this is blue. Accent color 2 is orange. Accent 3 is gray. Accent 4 is gold. Accent 5 is blue. And accent 6 is green. Now these accent colors, whenever we apply an accent color, if we change our design theme, we also will change the color of the text according to that accent. So not every theme has a green accent 6. A different theme may have a blue accent 6, or turquoise accent 6, or lime accent 6, or dark red accent 6. Those accent colors will differ from theme to theme. So if I change this text from the wash your hands text to green accent 3, or green accent 6, if I change the design theme, it's going to change the color from green to whatever that other accent 6 color is. And we'll see that in just a moment. But if we use a standard color, standard colors will not be modified or altered if we change a design theme. Like standard green is going to be green no matter if I use the parallax design theme, the WISP theme, the Ion Boardroom theme, the Office theme, whatever theme I'm using, that color is going to stay standard across the document regardless of the theme. And hopefully that'll get, if that's confusing, it'll get clearer as we go. All right, so again, I'm going to go to my Design tab, and then in my document formatting group, I'm going to choose the themes. Now you are not going to have custom themes in yours because we haven't built them yet. We'll build them later, but right now you don't have them. We're going to go ahead and we're going to change the theme, and you'll notice that if we scroll down, there are many different design themes built into the software. Now you'll notice Office is the custom theme, and right now Office is kind of grayed out. So you can see it's got that little gray background. That means that's the current theme applied. Now all these other options will do different things. So again, with our design theme, it will change our heading fonts, our body fonts, our colors. It's going to change the font style. Every design theme has its own elements, its own textual elements to it. And so if you hover over these different options, it's going to give you what's called a live preview, right? So if I clicked on Ion Boardroom, this is what my document will look like. If I clicked on Banded, this is what my document will look like. Again, that's a live preview. The little word that pops up right underneath Gallery, it says Gallery in a white box. That is called a screen tip. So it's just giving you a little tip of what that button is going to do. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to change our design theme to, what are we going to change it to? Slate. And again, so we've got Facet, Gallery, Integral. They're alphabetical right here, like the first 9 or 10, because those are the most common ones. After that grouping, they're going to be alphabetical by the least common ones. And so you can see, I'm going to go to Slate and click on Slate. It's going to change the elements there. And so now, before, our body font was Calibri, and our heading font was Calibri Light. If we click right here, now we'll see that our heading font is Callisto MT, and our body font is Callisto MT, right? If we look at our theme colors, these are going to be very warm colors. So now instead of blue accent 1, we've got brown. Accent 2 is tan. Accent 3, a different tan, and so on. So all of those accent colors are different. All right, so we've got that changed. So let's go ahead and now we're going to do some paragraph formatting. So we've been working here. Let's go over here. So we're going to select the text, wash your hands. So you can either come over here to the margin, click on that to select it. You get that little right pointing arrow. Or since we're going to do paragraph formatting, we just need to click somewhere on that line. So we can click and hold, drag through. We can select the whole line with our selection pointer, or we can click anywhere in that line. And then we're going to come to our paragraph group, and we're going to center that text by clicking that little center align button. And that's going to center align the text right in the page. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to center the next line of text. Now again, we're going to center this paragraph. Again, these will all apply to paragraphs. So if I don't need to select this whole paragraph to do this, I can just click anywhere in it and then click that center button, and it's going to center it as well. All right. So now we're going to change the size of the font a little bit. So we're going to select that wash your hands text, and again, you can either click and hold, drag through it. You can come over here and select the line. Or another thing we could do is we can click with our mouse. So if we click one time with our mouse, we bring our insertion point into the document where we clicked. So in this case, if I'm between the A and the N in the word hands, I click one time, my insertion point comes between the A and the N. If I double click right there, click, click, I'm going to select that whole word. So I'll select the word that I'm hovering over. But if I triple click, 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 I'm going to select the entire paragraph. Just like that. So you can do it any way you want. You can, come on, triple click. You can click and hold, or you can select it from the margin. But we're going to select the text that says wash your hands. We're going to change it to 36 point. So we're going to come over here, click on that little more option next to the 11 point font, and we're going to change it to 36. We're also going to change the font style from Callisto. Click on that more option, and we're going to choose the Rockwell extra bold. So I'm going to type where it says Callisto, Rockwell. All these fonts are going to be alphabetical. But, so instead of scrolling down through all of them, you'll notice there's hundreds of them, literally hundreds. I'm just going to start to type Rockwell, and then you'll see it'll bring up the Rockwell ones. And then I can choose extra bold. Now you may have, if you choose the Rockwell, if you start to type Rockwell, mine is going to be right up at the top because I've used this font recently, but if yours brings you down to here, you'll notice that we've got Rockwell, Rockwell condensed, Rockwell extra bold, Rockwell light, Nova, Nova condition, Nova conditional light, Nova extra bold. There's lots of Rockwell fonts. We want to make sure we select the Rockwell extra bold. Right, so we've got that Rockwell extra bold. Now we're going to also change the case. So we talked a little bit before this. We wrote this in title case, where each letter is capitalized that begins a word. Sentence case is the first letter of the sentence capitalized, everything else lowercase. And then we've got uppercase and lowercase letters. So uppercase, all letters are capitalized. Lowercase, all letters are lowercase. But regardless of how we've typed, we have a little option right here, little capital A, little a. This is a case option. We're going to click on that little change case, and then again we can change it to sentence case, which is just going to give it the first letters capitalized, all lowercase, all uppercase. We can capitalize each word, which is title case, or we can do toggle case, which turns all capitals into lowercase and all lowercase into capitals. But we're going to choose uppercase because we want to make all of these uppercase letters. All right, so now we've done that. So we've changed the font, we've changed the size, we've changed the case, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a typography to this. So this little kind of glowing A, so white A with a little blue glowing stuff around it, that's our text effects and typography. I'm going to click on that little more option next to it, and we're going to choose one of these built-in options. So if you hover over them, again, you're going to get a screen tip of what it is. So this one, I'm hovering over the second column, first row. And you can see this says fill. So the fill color is brown accent 1, and it has a shadow to it. If I hover over a different one, this is a gradient fill red accent 5 with a reflection. This one here is a fill tan accent 2, outline tan accent 2. So there's lots of different options. If you hover over them, you're going to get the screen tip, but you're also going to get a live preview right inside that document. We're going to change it to fill white, outline brown accent 1, glow brown accent 1. And so now we've got a fill color, an outline color, and a subtle glow right around it. All right, and then with that paragraph selected still, if you deselected it like I did, just select it back again. We're going to also shade it. So I'm going to come to my Home tab Paragraph Group, and that little paint can right there, that's our shading option. I'm going to click on the little down pointing arrow, and we're going to change this to the brown accent 4. So here's our brown accent 4, darker 25%. And so if you hover over these different ones, you'll see this is a lighter 80, this is a lighter 60, a lighter 40, a darker 25, and a darker 50. So all these are different hues of that accent color. We're going to choose the brown accent 4, darker 25%. All right. I'm just going to do my little quick save. So right up here in my, again, this is my quick access toolbar. I'm going to click on the little icon that looks like a floppy disk. Click. And that's our save. And so that's just going to do a quick save right there. All right, so now I'm going to select this next chunk of text, this washing your hands with soap and water, blah, blah, blah. And there, I'm going to change the font color. So the font color is not a paragraph option, it's a text option, so we have to select all of the text in the paragraph. We're going to come to our font color, and we're going to choose the option red accent 5, darker 25%. Then we're also going to increase the font to 22 point. So right now it's at 11. We can either click on that little more option and choose 22, or another thing we could do is if we want to see for ourselves, kind of eyeball it, we can use these little options right here. Grow font or shrink font, or increase font or decrease font, however you want to refer to them. One's going to make it bigger, one's going to make it smaller. I want to make my font a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to click that little A a couple times just to see what's going to happen. I'm going to say, you know what, 22 points, I like that, that's a good size, that's what I want. So again, I just clicked on that little grow font or increase font like 5 times. Otherwise, you can just come right over here and select 22 point right from there. All right. Again, I'm going to go ahead and do a save to save that progress. Now, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit because we're going to select multiple paragraphs. So we've got this, the kind of the title section of our flyer formatted. Now we're going to look at these lists right here, this how and when. So I'm going to select multiple lines of text. And again, you can click and hold and drag through everything, or since we're going to do all the lines of text, I'm just going to hover over this margin on the left, right before the word how. I'm going to click with my left mouse button, drag down to the after handling dirty equipment line, and then release my mouse button. And I'm going to select all of that text. I don't want to include that bottom line because that one I'm going to format that a little bit later. In this one, I'm going to change the font size from 11 to 20, and again, you can do it either way. You can click the Grow Font button, or you can go right here, choose the 20 point. Okay. And then I'm going to select this first, right below How, that first grouping of text. Again, you can click and hold and drag through, but for me, the much easier way is to just click in the margin, drag down, and then release. And we're going to make this numbered text. So I'm just going to come up here to my Home tab, Paragraph Group, and then you can see I've got a bullets, numbers, and multi-leveled list. I'm just going to come over here and click on Number. Just click on the little list. I don't have to do anything else, and it's automatically going to apply a numbering format to that list. All right, so then I'm going to come down here below After Eating, down all the way to After Handling Dirty Equipment, and I'm going to click Numbered List as well. And then I think, wait a minute, that's not a numbered list because this isn't an order that you're going to do. These are specific items when you should do something. So I'm just going to click on Bullet instead, and it will change it to a bullet point. Now if I say, you know what, I don't need to make this a bulleted list, I can click again and deselect it. But I do want this as a bulleted list. All right. So now you'll notice that in this list, I've got when am I supposed to do this? After eating, coughing, sneezing, or using tissue, before, during, and after preparing food, after using or assisting, after touching an animal, after handling dirty equipment. So I've got these afters and I've got a before. And so in something like this, you would want to try to keep it consistent. So instead of keeping this before here, I need to change it to make it before the after word, the after eating. And so I could delete it and retype it, or I could just come out to this little margin, click one time. I could do a cut, and it's going to cut it right out. Again, bring my insertion point right before this letter A, and then click paste. And it'll automatically paste it, in effect reordering that list. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to come down to that last paragraph, visit thefoodworker.com. I'm going to select that paragraph. I am going to center the text there. And then you'll notice also that when I click on that, I'll deselect it for a minute. When I click on it, it also opens up right here, which is called our mini toolbar. And the mini toolbar is the same thing as the toolbar in our ribbon, the font group, but it has a lot of different, it has all those different options only right here. And so we can change that from this way as well. So instead of going up to our ribbon, I'm just going to change it to 18-point font from right there. All right. And then with that text still selected, and I'm still on my mini toolbar, I'm going to change it to that red accent 5, darker 25%. Only I don't have to choose the option right here, red accent 5, darker 25%, because it's the last color I used, and so if I click it, it's automatically going to change it to that color anyway. Again, these will automatically do the last thing that you've done. And then I'm going to choose the text, additional hand washing tips. So just the text, not the period at the end. And then I can again use my mini toolbar, but if I navigate away from it, it will disappear, in which case I'll have to come up here or reselect it. But I don't need to do that. I'm just going to underline that text. So I'm going to click right there, or you can do Control U. You can see my insertion point is right down here. Control U is the shortcut to underline text. All right. So I'm going to come up to my first paragraph, that first body paragraph, and I'm going to do some more text formatting. So I'm going to select the word prevent. So I'm going to double click on the word prevent, and then I'm going to italicize that. So I can just click on that little I or Control I to italicize. And then if I want to apply formatting to text, like this whole paragraph like we did before, I can click and hold and drag through it, or I can click right here and drag through down the line. And again, that's going to select all text from the beginning to the end of where I'm clicking. Now, there's some times that we don't want to do it like that. We want to select specific words. So in this case, this how section, I want to focus on the first word of each component. So wet hands, lather, scrub, rinse, dry. So I want to focus on just those words, and I'm going to make those bold. So I can either click and hold and select that word, and then if I come down here to click and hold lather, oh, what happened? It deselected the one word. Again, if I want to select wet, lather, scrub, rinse, and dry, I can do that, but it's going to select all the text in between it as well. Again, that's our normal formatting. That's adjacent text. We're formatting adjacent text. Now, if I want to format text that's not adjacent to another chunk of text, like each one of these words, I can do one at a time, or I can just come up here, double click on the word wet, and then hold my Control key down on the keyboard, double click lather, double click scrub, double click rinse, double click dry, and only those words will be selected. Again, this is called a non-adjacent selection. And I'm just going to come up here and click bold to format those with bold font. All right, then I'm going to deselect that text. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a little quick save again. All right, so now I've got that done. So the next thing I want to do is this document is basically concluded. However, I also want to add a picture to this to give it a little additional context. So I'm going to come to this center paragraph, and again, turn on your formatting marks if you want to make sure you're in the right spot. And I'm going to insert a picture. And I'm going to insert a picture from online. And so I'm just going to come into my Insert tab, and then right here, Pictures. If I click Pictures, it's going to go to my hard drive. Online Pictures is going to search the web. So I'm going to click Online Pictures. Now it's going to bring up my Bing search. So I'm just going to type for online pictures, hand washing, and then enter. And then when I do hand washing, it's going to bring up a lot of different hand washing pictures. Some of them may be appropriate, some of them may not be appropriate. But we're going to go ahead and you can just select any one you want. I'm going to choose one that has a faucet and soapy hands, so I'm going to choose this one right here. So I'm going to click on it. Now you'll notice right down here it says you are responsible for respecting others' rights, including copyright. This is very important because a lot of images online are copyright protected, and we don't want to use those if we don't have to. So you'll notice right here we've got this box selected that says Creative Commons only. Now Creative Commons are pictures that people have taken and posted to either to image sites, image boards, or just online in general that they don't care if they get credit for or not. Now you can go to a site like Shutterstock or Getty Images, or there's other places like that that will require you to purchase the license to the picture to use it. And again, if that happens, you want to make sure you purchase that license to use it legally. This one, these are Creative Commons pictures. I'm going to click on this one right here, sorry. Not that one. This one, and I'm going to say insert. Now when I insert it, you'll see it inserts with this text below it. It says this photo by unknown author is licensed under CC by CC BY. And what that CC means is Creative Commons. And so we don't know who the author is, but we know that it's public domain. Anybody can use it. So we don't have to credit it to anyone. So instead of having this little box right here, I'm going to click. So if I click on the picture, I get the little handles around the picture. But you'll also notice that since I've clicked right here, I also have this little box right around that text. So I'm just going to click on the border of that text box and hit delete with my keyboard, and I'm going to delete that licensing text box right out of there, and now I only have a picture selected. All right, so with that picture selected, now there's lots of different things that I can do with it. So I'm going to go to page width, or excuse me, to one page for a moment. So view one page, and so we can see this. All right, so on this document, it's kind of rolling onto 2 pages. But this picture is huge. It's ginormous in the middle of our document. So what we're going to do is we're going to resize this picture so we don't have to, alter our text at all. So with that picture selected, you'll notice that now once that picture is selected, I also have this what's called a contextual tab. It says Picture Tools. If I click away from the picture, that's gone. If I click on the picture, there it is. So this is our Picture Tools Contextual tab. So this is our format options. If I click on that format right over here, it's going to bring up all these different options that I can do with this picture. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control E with that picture selected. Control E is going to center it. Now I could go back to my Home tab and center a line using my paragraph group, but since I'm in my Picture Tools Format tab, I'm just going to click Control E and it will automatically align that picture to the center of my page. All right, so also I want to resize it. So there's a couple different ways I can resize it. If I want to resize it by site, I can grab one of these little handles in the corner. So these are all sizing handles. There's going to be 8 of them, 1 at each corner and 1 at each side. If I click a side one, so I get this 2-way pointing arrow going left and right or up and down, click and hold drag, you can see it's going to make it narrow. I'm going to undo that. If I do the top and bottom one, it's going to make it squat, right? But if I do a sizing handle on the side, click and hold, and then pull in towards the center, it's going to make that image smaller proportionately. So it's going to change the width and the height at the same rate. So it's going to be proportionate. But so I can see that now I've done that. I'm back onto one page. So I can do it like that by site, or if there was a specific size I wanted, I could also do it right to that size. So I'm going to say, you know what? Actually, I want this picture about 2 inches high by 3 inches wide. In my Picture Tool Format tab, I've got this size group right over here. I can just click, change it to 2, and it automatically adjusts the width proportionately. Or if I go to 3, so I can choose how I want it. So if I want it roughly 2 by 3, it can be 2 1/4 by 3, or 1 3/4 by 2, or 2 by like 2 3/4, or some weird thing like that. Anyway, I'm going to choose with a 3-inch wide. And again, yours might be a little bit different if you didn't choose the same picture I did. But you just want to make sure you want everything on one page. You don't want it rolling onto 2. All right, so I'm going to go back to my View tab and then Page Width. And then I'm going to focus on this picture. I'm going to go back to my Picture Tools Format tab. And on this picture, I'm going to apply a picture style to it. Now, the picture styles are kind of cool because you can add like little frames around them. If we hover over these, you can add like frames. You can see it adds shadows. It gives a little depth, a little perspective. And again, you can, anytime we're doing this, if you want to choose a different color, choose a different option, go ahead and feel free to do that. I'm not giving you a grade on this. but we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and click on this little more option, and I'm going to choose the option that says snip diagonal corner white. So it's going to snip the diagonal corners, and it's going to give it a white little border around it. And then it also gives it a little bit of shadow around the edge of it as well. All right, and so now I've got that, but also this is about washing your hands, and I've got these really warm colors, and I don't think of like hand washing with warm colors. I think of like water with blues and greens and things like that. So instead of having all these warm earthy tones, I want to apply a different color palette to this document. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my Design tab again, and then beyond my document formatting, different styles, I have an option for colors. I'm going to choose colors, and then on these different colors, we can choose different color palettes. So instead of having that warmer reds and earthy tones, I'm going to change it to blue 2. I can see these are all my background and text colors are at the beginning, and then all of our accent colors are over here on the right. And so I can see all of my accent colors are much cooler with blues and greens and turquoises and teals and things like that. I'm going to choose blue 2. And then again, when I did that, that text right now, which used to be red accent 5, darker 25%, if I click on it and select it right here, I can see I'm still accent 5, darker 25%, but only now it's a dark green, right? If I click in my shadow area, I can go to my shadow, which used to be the accent 4, darker 25. It's still accent 4, darker 25. Instead of brown, it's now green. And so that's the difference. And so I can see I've got, now it's rolled on. When I changed that, when I added that style to it, that picture style, it made it on to 2 pages. So again, I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And then now it's back on to 2. So I can change that to 2 and then 2.67 again. So this picture has to be 2 inches high in order for that text to all fit on one page. All right, so now we've got that applied. Now the last thing I'm going to do with my flyer is I am going to add a border to it. So again, if I zoom out, view one page, you can see that document is relatively finished. I've taken up most of my page. The one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a page border to it. So if I go to my Design tab, I've got a page border option right over here. Also on my Home tab, I have borders and shading right here. I can click on that down pointing arrow, go to borders and shading, and then I've got a page border option right here. So either place you can do it. Since we were just working in our Design tab, I'm going to choose the page borders from our page background group. And again, it's going to bring us up to that same dialog box, only instead of bringing us up in the Borders tab, it's in the Page Border tab. Now in the page border, we can go ahead and, right now there's none. I'm going to say box. I want a box border around the whole page. And then I want to choose what kind of border I want. Now you can scroll through this and see all the different options. You can also, if you're one of the people that likes to do art borders, right down here, art, there's lots, like you can do apples and ice cream cones and candy canes and Christmas trees and all that different stuff. These are ones that I have a hard time with. I don't like art borders for the most part. There's some down at the very bottom that are more geometric that I don't mind. I will show you one that I use quite frequently is right here. This is one that I use quite frequently, only I make it a little narrower, not so bold like that. But we're going to use a style right up here. So I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom, and then I'm going to choose this element that has the bold line at the perimeter and then the gradient kind of line in towards the center. All right, and then I'm also going to change the color I'm going to choose the color option. We're going to go with this blue, or sorry, the turquoise accent 3, darker 25%. And then we're also, right here, we've got the width of a 3-point. That I think is good. I'm going to say OK, and then it's going to give that little border right around that perimeter. And so right now we can see that we've got the text really takes up a lot of the page. I kind of want to give a little more space at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the spacing in these lists. So there's the lists are spaced a little bit, like in the default style. I'm going to come over to our Home tab, or sorry, and I'll zoom in a little bit so we can see this. I'm going to select this list right here, and then in my paragraph group on my Home tab, line and spacing options, I'm going to say remove space after paragraph. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. In this when list, I'm going to select that list, and I'm going to remove space after paragraph. And then it's going to bring it a little bit tighter. And then here, it's a little bit too tight. So in this case, I want to add a little space before the paragraph. So I'm just going to click down in this bottom paragraph somewhere, and then add space before paragraph. It gives it a little bit of depth to it. And then now that's much better, much cleaner. I'm going to go ahead and save that progress. And that file is complete. Save it, and it's done.